Hi and welcome. Month 2 of the second year of afternoon tea with Shawn Bradbury and Niyati Patel. Welcome. Finding me through the ages. Curious? Well, we're curious too. And that's what we like. A curious bunch of people trying to find themselves and trying to do some good in their own lives, their families, and in the world. I'm Niyati Patel, and I work with families in building connections and building harmony in the family so we can all grow together. And here's Shawn, and he'll tell you a little bit about himself.
Yeah, so I guide middle-aged men to trust themselves, set clear priorities, and live without guilt. All the work I've done on myself, so I serve the person that I used to be just a few years ago.
So we come with experience, just so you
A
know.
lot of life
Thank,
experience, yes.
so thank you so much for joining us today. And it's the spring month of February, starting of the new year still. Please know, I mean, we're still in February. And last year we did, if you look at our channel, and if you're subscribed, please do. If not, you'll see last year we did who's better, mom or dad? You know, is that a real dichotomy? But then we find ourselves thinking about, that dichotomy also kind of plays into who we identify ourselves as young people. And so becoming, like, playing out the role of the child that we are, and then to grow up into the adult that we end up playing the role of. But it's a finding of ourselves, and each journey is different, and there's a whole lot of influences that we explore or are exposed to along this journey to find ourselves. So we want to talk about that with you today. Shawn, is there something that struck you, the minute you realized that, oh, now I'm an adult? Or just like looking at, I have to I want to become big. I want to be the bigger person. Like, not bigger person, but how do we think about it? I want to be big, when we're young kids.
I think we always want to rush it. When we're young, we want to be a teenager, then we want to be 16, then we want to be 18, and then you want to be 21, right? You have these, when you're younger, you have so many more milestones that you want to hit. And we're in such a rush to get out of this phase of life, where it's interesting now with my daughter almost 18. Now she goes, she's a senior in high school, she has a job and everything like that. I think part of her wish is she wants to regress a little bit and not have those responsibilities. She's kind of like on some of like, oh, maybe this isn't what I thought it might be. Now, granted, she has a car and she has freedom and everything too, but with that freedom comes responsibility, right? You have to kind of learn that too. So I just think it's a lot of, unfortunately, maybe not living in the moment when you're a kid as much, because you want to see the older kids, you want to be able to do all those cool things, and sometimes we wish things away, unfortunately.
And we'll also do that when we are moving through different stages of life. Oh, when I was a teenager, not most people want to go back there. But, I think of myself when I was a teenager. I did have inexhaustible energy compared to what I have now. And I do kind of think about that. Or people think about when I was in my 20s or when I was in my 30s. Like, there's this nostalgia to when we're on the other side. And it just makes me think that where we are is perfectly fine in the moment. That's what I'm realizing. Yes, I mean, like I said, would I want to go back to that? I'm like, no, but I didn't know all the things I know now. Kind of, it's kind of foolish. It was nice. It served its time.
Yeah, there was a lot of foolish things done, and even though if kids want to be like the older, like the older kids and stuff too, but even like summer times, they seem to last forever, right? Like you're on summer vacation and every day is just like I was gone from like morning till night. It's like you were just gone all day doing whatever. And time just seemed to stand still, and now it just flies by. And before you know it, as a parent and as a kid or anything, before you know it, you've gone through all these phases, and now you're an adult, a so-called adult, and you got to take all these responsibilities on. And it's not only a shift for them; it's a shift for us as parents as well.
Mm-hmm. And then I feel that, our relationships, mother, daughter, father, son, us and our grandparents or uncles, aunts. I mean, our relationships, they're still present, even though we all change along the way. And to me, uh, we're still our same person. It's like when my mother says, when I get old, and you just have to wonder, you are not old? Okay. Or her excitement when someone offers her a seat because she is a senior person and she's so excited. Guess what? Someone offered me a seat today because. So on the one hand, there's this, you don't see yourself as old ever, honestly, because we are our own persons, and it's not just my mother. I've spoken to many other people who are um, just have a lot more decades to their lives, and they're youthful, very youthful people. So and I go, yeah, if I know when I am like a few decades down, I'm still gonna be me. And then when I'm thinking back to myself in my teens as a kid, even as a 10-year-old, it was me. It's a very personal experience. It's not something far away back there, that's not me. No, that's also me. There's something really beautiful about it. And it's helping me see that uh, the challenges or the growing stages as we encounter them in our lives, as I move along, it's relevant to now. And everything that has been and everything that I might aspire to is only informing me. But what is real and true and something to have a good time with is now.
That's all you have is now, right? And regardless. So, and what I like about this too is because I do have some years on Niyati here. Our journeys are very similar, but yet different, which I think brings an awesome perspective to these conversations as well. But I can speak to that. I'm 57, so it's I'm definitely past a certain point, and looking back at my life and the certain decades and stuff, it seems like a different person because I am a different person, right? You go through the different phases in your life, and hopefully you are a different person to a degree because you are growing and learning. And because I was stuck for a long time in those patterns, looking back at the decisions I had to make when I was younger, we were talking about this before we got on camera. It's just like there's just so many options in the world and so many things coming at us to like what we might want to do or who we should be. And just to kind of give ourselves some grace and just kind of like, what do I want? Not what the world wants, my parents want for me. What do I want? And then, maybe because it's always going to change, right? I mean, it's going to be the days are gone that you're going to get that job. You're going to be in a job for 30 years. I don't think those days are gone, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and when you said, what do I want? It's the simple things. I want to eat this food or I want to wear this dress because I want it, not because it's popular, not because everybody's wearing it, or we don't really think about it. We think we're doing what I want, but what I want is what everybody else is doing because God forbid if I look or performed in any way differently than all these other people, I'm not okay with it. So that's just something to reflect on. Why am I not okay with it? Because I would like it differently. I may not be looking or being like everybody else. And And it's not a call to go out and just, you know, create uncomfortable situations for yourself. But what I'm saying is, it's also something to look at and learn to love about yourself.
If you go out into the world as your authentic self, you're not going to be accepted by everybody. That's just a fact. I mean, you could go out and try to please everybody, and you're still not going to please everybody. So, show up in the world as who you want to be. And that's not an easy thing to do. There's a lot of pressure and judgment or anything, but even that question of like, what do I want? Because a lot of times when you ask someone that question, they'll tell you a laundry list of what they don't want, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really hard question because it's going to take some time to sit with because there's just too much distraction, there's too much noise in life to sit down and say, really, what do I want without all these other people suggesting things or giving you advice and stuff. Um, so it's a very hard thing to do, and the people that find it early on, I'm very envious. I was always envious of that kind of like they really felt like they had their direction. They weren't going to stray from it. Not to say that they were going to stay with it forever, but at the time they had such conviction over that. I was always like, oh, that's so cool. It's like, why don't I have that?
Having I don't want is also a great place to start though, because it starts to kind of clear out the way,
Yes.
in the moment. And it's a nice place to be in. And the reason, this kind of connects to the work that I do also. And in many ways you are doing the same, just in a different perspective. Um, we don't just play out the roles or expectations in, the dress or the food or the kind of house or the kind of car. We kind of play those out in how we should be a mom, how we should be a daughter, how we should be a so and so, how, you know, or if I am a certain position at work, I need to be appearing a certain way to be seen a certain way. And and it can work for a while. It can work in certain situations, but for the most part, it it dilutes the person that we are. And it does feel inauthentic. It does set in feelings of discontent and disconnection. It makes us lonely. So in being like everybody else, we're going to be lonely, which is a very common experience. Or we could be ourselves and be very different and feel together with everybody. I find that very uplifting.
I think it's okay. I think one of the hardest things I've had to learn is to be okay, just to be comfortable with me, being able to be alone, but you're never alone because you're always with yourself. So really getting to know you is probably the hardest thing to do and something that's never taught to us. That's for sure, growing up too. But one thing I love that you just said a second ago about, what do I want? You're right, that list of what don't I want is just important because if you start listing those things out, it's like drawing that line down the page. What do I want? What I don't want? Maybe that's a good exercise for people listening to this. If they're struggling with that. Maybe that's something that you want to take a look at.
hmm We do look at, during the workshops, and uh, Shawn has his weekly, what do you call the sessions? Their
Oh, the
conversations?
weekly discussions within the community. So
Yeah,
pretty much we have
weekly.
a monthly theme, and then every Thursday we go live. If you're in the community, we hop on and we talk about it. So it's pretty. I love the interaction and the connection from it.
So he has the weekly discussions in his community and the workshops that I do with Nimble Futures, working with really deep familial or family connections, parent and kids or grandparents and kids. Uh, we're really looking at tapping into this, what are people really made of in themselves, and to help that reflection process, and also support the voice that's coming up for them in their minds, in their hearts, in the things that they know. And in finding your genius, that the workshop that Nimble Future offers, and also almost everything that Nimble Futures does, I call it intuition, that inner voice. We know. And so we want to keep this conversation going in terms of what is it that we know that we bring to the table, no matter where we are in life, because we bring ourselves to that. And so we would love to hear your thoughts on this newest conversation. And we're so grateful that you stick around with us. And that's a great encouragement. And we hope that we're bringing you relevant information, conversation, and camaraderie just with these online sessions.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's the power of the collective, the power of community. And we're happy to have you with us.
So thank you, and we'll see you soon again.
Take care.